Welcome to the Top Secret Wedding Podcast, and today's top secret tip is...
Always make sure to have a sewing kit and know your basic sewing stitches. You never know when someone's going to lose a button or a zipper's going to break.
Perfect, thank you.
Want to learn how to encourage your clients to utilize their bridal party more? Listen to this episode to find out.
This is the Top Secret Wedding Podcast, where we share top secret tips to help you take your wedding game to the next level.
I'm Annika, and I'm a wedding coordinator, enthusiast, and venue manager for one of the best venues in Idaho.
I'm Chris, and I'm a DJ, master of ceremonies, and all-around lover of weddings.
We're on a mission to improve weddings and wedding professionals everywhere.
So if you're just listening and not watching the podcast, that female voice did not sound like Annika because we have my beautiful wife, Nicole, here.
Hi.
So I'm really excited to have her on.
I'm excited too.
So we're going to grill you with a bunch of questions.
Okay.
And let's go.
Let's go. Let's jump into it. So, Nicole, super happy to have you on today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, actually quite a few blocks from Chris. We didn't go to the same school or same church or anything. Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting little thing that we grew up so close together. I also spent some time in Portland, Oregon. I went to high school there. And then I have a really big family, lots of brothers, lots of boy cousins. So it's kind of the only girl for a little bit. And what else?
And then you met this dashing...
I met this guy.
this guy who created problems. So, we got married in 2008.
Yeah, we dated for a bit, and then I went up to BYU, Idaho to go to school.
Yeah.
And he figured he might as well marry me
Yeah.
before anybody steals me up.
Yep. So we got married in 2008. Then we moved up here.
Yeah.
Ever since.
I know. 14 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Long time for you. Sorry about that. So, tell us a little bit about what your profession is, your day job.
Yeah, so when I went to school, I studied psychology, and that's actually what I got my degree in. But halfway through that, I wanted to change it to what was then called the sewing construction major. It's now a fashion major, but I had too many credits. So I just finished. I got my degree. But basically, I had 2 years of like an associate's degree for sewing construction. And that's actually what I do today. Before I actually got this job, I had an Etsy shop that was really successful, and I made clothing, skirts and scarves and custom clothing.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
She sold like 1,000 leopard scarves. Yeah. I know there's 1,000. That maybe exaggerating, but a lot.
But a lot, yeah.
It boomed overnight, and it was great, but it was too much to handle. And then I got this job. So I work in clothing manufacturing. It's specifically embellishments. So anytime you have a work uniform that has a logo on it of, I don't know, Applebee's or stuff like that. We also do screen printing, sports paraphernalia, like jerseys and stuff like that. But my side is mostly for uniforms for our armed services, paramedics, fire department, and police officers. So I get to work with them. I get to work with cool ballistic wear and alterations and embroidery and screen print.
Yeah, she comes home and she's like, so I sewed a bulletproof vest today. Like,
Oh, wow.
same
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I think the coolest one is I got to handle some SWAT gear, and it is so heavy. You would not expect it to be, but yeah. I could barely pick it up.
And she's very good at what she does. She's been at her job for a while, and she's very good at what she does.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a very rewarding career.
Yeah.
I love it.
I can't figure out a way to get me out of tickets yet, but
Yeah, no luck there.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, fingers crossed, I've never been pulled over. So. But I'm sure
Shoot, now that you said it. No.
we cover all of Idaho and Montana and parts of Washington and Wyoming. So I'm sure, I mean, I recognize people, like when we do charity events, I'm like, hey, I did your shirt.
Yeah. So that's what you do in your day job. what role do you play in, and I know the answer, so it's weird for me to ask this, but what role do you play in our wedding business?
So it's changed over the years. In the beginning, I was getting down and dirty, with you helping set up equipment and staying late and taking it down. Basically a roadie in the beginning. Did some emceeing. I know how to set up all the equipment and cue up songs, but I have no mixing capabilities at all. Although granted, I've never really tried that hard.
She could do it. She was a dancer, and so she could.
Yeah. I love music like Chris. But now recently it's been more of the business side of things, looking over finances, helping keep things organized, and being a soundboard to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, she's honestly, our business has kind of exploded because of her, because she wasn't working. I think part of the reason that she's been so helpful actually is because she wasn't working in the business, and she could view it from like an outside perspective.
Yeah, totally. I actually wanted to touch on that for 2 seconds. You mentioned how you've been a soundboard to just bounce ideas off of. And I feel like for anyone, just like you said, that can be so beneficial to get some eyes that aren't in the nitty gritty of the issue and kind of overlooking it and bouncing ideas off of and going, hey, well, what about this? You have Nicole for that. And a lot of times, like I have my husband, Nolan, where he's like, hey, well, what about this or whatever? And I just think that is so critical in taking your game to the next level.
Yeah, I think you have to borrow from other industries or look at other industries, because if you're only just, if you're in an echo chamber and you're just, reusing the same ideas over and over, sometimes I'll bring an idea to Nicole and she's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And outside of like the DJing world, like it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so that's why, she's been really helpful to help me see.
And I think too, just finding your people and your hype person to say, hey, that's a good idea. Don't get scared of it. Go for it. Like that is so critical.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line to walk though, because we are partners, but also we're husband and wife. So you got to really be careful. Totally. I tend to be more of a blunt person. So I'll say, no, that's a dumb idea. But then you have to, pick and choose your battles basically.
Yeah, she's gotten much better at sparing my feelings a little bit over the years. So, and she's got it down now. She knows, like, as I'm leaving, if she says, hey, you look really good in that outfit, I'm like, I'm going to kill it now.
Oh, yeah. I can be his hype person for sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm going to take you back to our wedding.
Okay.
What do you remember? What are the top takeaways? I know, right? What are the top takeaways that you remember from our wedding?
I loved having all of our family there. I think the most memorable things were just everybody dancing. Like we had a great dance party. My grandparents and my little cousins and just extended family. That was definitely my favorite part of everything.
I remember, I don't know if you remember this, and I don't remember the exact order of events, but after the dance party, I think either before we were sent off or after, because after we were sent off, we drove around the block and came right back to like change or something.
Yeah.
We were standing by like this payphone in the church. And we like looked around and we're like, I can't believe all these people are here just for us.
Yeah.
And it still like hits me really emotionally. And I think at the core of anyone that's getting married, at the core of it, that's really what it's about. That's what it should be about, is those people that are there. Otherwise you elope, right? If you just want to get married, then you elope, which that's special on its own.
Totally.
But I think
you could feel the love there.
Yeah.
But we also had a very large wedding. We had a couple hundred people there.
Yeah.
We actually had a kind of a natural disaster
on
our
wedding day.
wedding day.
More.
Yeah, there was a really big wildfire.
Oh, wow.
And it actually crossed the highway. So quite a few people weren't actually able to make it. But we were like, thank goodness, because we wouldn't have been able to feed them all. We had so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was great. It was so cool to see such a good turnout and feel that love and support from everyone.
Yeah. It was cool. And it was really windy that day.
It was so windy. The sky was orange.
You could see it in the pictures.
Yeah.
So, what would you do differently? If you had to go back and do it all over, besides choosing a different husband, what would you do differently?
I think we spent too much on the photographer.
I agree. He wasn't that good.
Yeah. he was good. This was kind of pre-Instagram and even Facebook hadn't been around that long.
Yeah.
And so we had done our research, like looking at Yelp, and we interviewed a couple people and looked at their samples. But he was really good at taking standstill portraits, and the quality of his photography was really good. He
Photo
had a
quality,
camera.
good. Photo, lighting, all that was on point.
Yes, it was great. And he was good at like outdoor. But later, you know, you've never planned a wedding before. It's hopefully your one and only wedding. But I got to see a lot of other friends in their weddings and the photography that they had done. And I liked that they had more fun shots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And instead, ours were very formal, and we all were like kind of posed in a portrait. And so looking back, I wish that we had done something different in that direction.
Yeah, I agree, because at the time, I mean, how much? I think it was like $3,000
Yeah.
for the photographer. And this was,
Wow.
yeah, it was,
I mean, granted, this is LA.
it was,
That's true.
but still, I mean, I
But
think
still, yeah.
Yeah.
we spent a good deal on it, and he was just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we had spent it on a venue, but you can't find a venue for that much in LA.
No.
So we went the church route.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think brides and grooms now have a better option with Instagram, because
Yeah.
it's so much easier to see like
Yeah.
what you get with a photographer.
Exactly. Well, and I think too, I just feel like, you know, maybe there's some type of timing in that, because I feel like even my parents, their photos were all very portrait-esque.
Staged.
I know when I was looking for a photographer, bless her heart, I love my mom, but like, shout out because I know she listens. But like,
We love your mom too.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
yeah, she's great. But she had found a photographer that she loved, and his work is stunning. I will always say that. But his style was a little bit more portrait-esque, and I knew that's not what I wanted. But even with today's age, where you have Instagram and you can really do some deep dive research on photographers and what their style is, what their moods are, what you get from it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
And I'd say that this goes both ways. So not just from the client side, but from the vendor side, right? If you know what kind of client you want, make sure that you're putting out that kind of content that would attract
Exactly.
those people. So if you do not like hiking and you don't want to do destination elopements, don't put that on your Instagram. Even though you do a
Exactly.
wedding that they paid you well for,
right?
don't put that on your Instagram, because then you're going to get more clients that want that.
Exactly. You got to market your ideal client.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely. So anything else that you do differently?
Yeah. So one of them, and it's kind of a touchy subject, but having more control.
Okay.
Oh, what did you
Okay, wait. Yeah.
say?
There were two different thoughts going.
Yeah, no, just having more control. I was very timid, and I was also a very young bride, but just more control and better communication with my team.
What control would you have wanted?
I felt like on the day of, there were too many hands in the cookie jar.
I agree.
Yeah, there wasn't one concise leader orchestrating everything. So I wish we had had more of an MC to kind of help coordinate
Yeah.
those things.
So we had, as far as the emceeing goes, Alan did a pretty good job.
he did great.
Shout out to Alan. He's
He did
good.
great.
Alan Au, DJ China Dog. He was my mentor, but he did a good job as far as the emceeing goes. But we didn't have like a coordinator.
Yeah.
And because of our community, our church community, which really helped, they all wanted to help,
Yes.
which we're super grateful for. But we didn't have one person that was in charge of leading all those people.
Yeah.
So if you've got a lot of, if you're a planner and you've got a lot of people that want to help, make sure that you've got a plan for those people. Otherwise, you might it could happen that you pay for a really expensive, awesome looking cake that's beautiful, costs a lot of money, and nobody gets to eat it because nobody cut it up. That could happen at a wedding.
I'm sensing something here.
Yeah.
So we got to the end of the night.
$800 cake too.
It was $800. It was so much.
Wow.
So we got to the end of the night and we realized the only piece that was cut out of our cake was,
Was with your guys' piece?
and the rest was sheet cake, and we wanted people to eat it. So
Ironically, something I learned from my own wedding was I feel like I served our cake too late because, we cut our slice and we cut up the cake and served it. But a lot of people had already left because it was later. So it was a delicious cake and I was not upset that I got to take a lot more of it.
Sure.
But that was one thing I would change too. So I feel like it's easy for cake to get forgotten on the wedding day. And I always hear this as a common issue.
Yeah.
So
I'm not consistent with it, but I do have a thing on my phone, like a little album on my phone that is of cakes at the end of the night that are completely uncut. Yeah.
Well, and it's so sad because most times they just go in the trash. That's so sad.
Yeah. So anything else that you would do differently? Not that you have to have anything.
I mean, no, not really. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. We had a couple things go down that we had specifically asked not to happen.
Yeah.
Overall, it was still good. They were forgivable things, and you could move on.
I mean, we had a good wedding.
Yeah, we did.
And I'm happy with it. And I don't want to say I wouldn't change anything because there are some little things that I'd change, but overall, it was good.
Yeah, exactly.
We got married, and that was the important part. The rest was a party. So, okay, wedding pet peeves. What are your wedding pet peeves? Either with the wedding day in general or vendors or anything. What are your...
So I'm not a really passionate person, so I have quite a few pet peeves.
Let's hear it.
I think one of the biggest ones is the bridesmaids and the groomsmen not living up to their duties.
Dude, amen. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Bothers me so much. You're a bridesmaid and a groomsman for a reason. You have a dedicated job to help the bride and the groom with anything that they need. Historically, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that people don't understand the reasons for our traditions. And maybe that's something that you guys can do a podcast for, because a lot of people don't know why we do the things that we do at weddings.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But, like back in the day, people had their bridesmaids to help dress the bride and do her hair and help give her food and hold her train and then hand her bouquet. And I just feel like I go to all these weddings and there's so many bridesmaids where they're more focused on the pretty dress that they get to wear and taking Instagram photos. And the bride is stressed out and they're not helping her. I can't even tell you how many times we finished a wedding and at the end of the night, everyone's left.
They're just gone.
Yeah. And the bride and groom, it's so sad and pathetic to see the bride in her beautiful dress packing up chairs and taking out garbage. That's what your bridesmaids and groomsmen should be helping you with. It's a big pet peeve.
Well, and I feel like, too, as a wedding vendor, you can help alleviate that by encouraging your couple to give tasks to their bridal party. Mm-hmm. It's so easy for bride and groom to want to take everything on themselves, but say, hey, is there a bridesmaid that you want to cover this? Or, hey, I could do this for you, but you might like it better the day of if your maid of honor does this or whatever. I think opening up the client's eyes to that as a possibility is something we as vendors can do.
Totally. I love it. And I might start doing that. So I just recently have started setting up automations, partially because we did an episode where I mentioned how I need to do automation. So, and one of the things that I do is 30 days to the wedding, I send out an automatic email that's very personalized, but it automatically gets sent out 30 days to your wedding. Can't wait. Here's some things that you might want to think about. 60 days to the wedding. I send out a thing that has a bunch of tips for speeches and toast, so they can give that to their people. So maybe another one that I'll add in there is, hey, here's some duties that you might want to think about for your wedding party.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'd also say one of the things that you've started doing in recent years is prepping the maid of honor and the groomsmen to have their toasts prepared ahead of time. Yeah. And you've given them pointers, how to do introductions, how to end it, and the length of time, which is good because we've had so many weddings in the past where someone's just droning on for 10 minutes and you're like, this is a really long toast, and they have no idea. They've never given a toast before. So
I probably said it on this podcast before, but when brides and grooms ask me like, how long should a toast be? My standard answer is, well, it all depends on preparation, because I've seen a toast that goes on for 25 minutes and people are on the edge of their seats. They loved it. And I've seen toasts that go on for 30 seconds and it's way too long because they were not prepared. So it all comes down to the preparation, and if you're comfortable speaking. Lawyers are really good at weddings.
Really?
Yeah, because they're used to speaking.
Because they're used
They
to.
do great speeches.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Well, and I will say too, just to, again, we've mentioned this on the podcast, but when you are hired as a vendor for a wedding, your client is really looking at you as the professional. And so the more you can just, give advice, hold their hand and lead them, then the better result they're going to end up in.
Yeah.
So
They don't know.
Exactly.
Like you were saying, Nicole.
Yeah, they don't know.
We didn't know. I mean, even though at that point, I had done quite a few weddings, I had never been a groom before.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't know.
Exactly.
I thought I knew. Thought I knew everything. Nope. Okay. Any other pet peeves?
I have two more.
Yeah,
So
go.
Harem.
one is dogs.
Okay, let's hear it.
I love it. I love our furry friends. Dogs are wonderful. They are just great. And I know that a lot of people like to have their family pet bring the ring down the aisle or just be a part
It
of
can be
the
cute.
wedding. It's very cute. And I love it. They're fur babies. But then what do you do with the dog afterwards?
Yes.
Who's going to watch the dog? Where's the dog going to be? And I think it just depends on the wedding. If it's really casual and a family affair, like in a backyard, then, let the dog run around. But it's really odd to see a dog that's anxious and they get scared because there's a lot of people and a lot of smells and
They don't know what's going on.
they don't know what's going on. And so it
Yeah.
kind of creates a lot of chaos at your wedding day, jumping up on things, knocking tables over. Yeah, it's odd to have a dog running around in an indoor venue.
Yeah, that is true. Here's an idea for venues.
Yes.
Set up a dog area
Yeah.
for an upcharge. $50?
That'd be so cute.
Boom.
No,
And
totally.
you have like a venue coordinator go like check on them every once in a while, make sure that,
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a good one.
Yeah, I feel like at LaBelle Lake, we end up having a lot of dogs because we are an outside venue.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had it work really well because we're outside. There's so much space that we just kind of unofficially designated the back behind the lodge as the dog area.
Yep.
And it works great. But at the same time, I feel like another thing that you have to think about when having a dog at an event is how is the dog itself? Is it friendly? Is it not friendly? Like, I am all for dogs, love them, want them to be on your special day if that's what you want. But what happens if they are not a friendly dog?
Yeah.
That I have unfortunately seen that happen. And you just have to think of everything and have a solution.
You've got a lot of little kids running around.
Exactly.
And, well, especially at your venue too.
Yeah.
You guys go for lake and the.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
And that's a big thing for us are the
Yeah, the
dogs.
dogs.
Because, again, we allow dogs. We're all for it.
Yeah.
But if
Don't
you
eat
have
our dogs.
exactly, if you have a dog just running around off leash, then I've literally had dogs very interested in our ducks, and we have to find the owner and say, "I'm so sorry, your dog is way too interested in our ducks. We don't want a massacre going on." So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's a good one. Okay, any other pet peeves?
I think the last one is focusing too much on flowers and food. Nobody remembers the food at your wedding. I'm sorry. I've been to so many weddings and I can't think of any that I was like, man, that was really good food. Like,
yeah.
and most people, I feel like that's where they spend a lot of their budget or flowers. I think flowers are beautiful, but at the same time, there's so many other areas that would make your event more fun with entertainment. I feel like entertainment is where you should really focus.
That's my wife. I'm gonna piggyback off of that I would say that there's probably a bare minimum that you should spend on food, right? Because if you have really bad food, people would remember that,
Yeah.
right? And if you have the budget, what I always tell my couples is look at what's most important to you and what you want to think about 5 years from your wedding.
Yeah.
So if 5 years from your wedding, you want people to remember your food, sweet, go get like Gordon Ramsay and like do it big, right? But if that's not what you care about 5 years from your wedding, then change that. And some people are foodies. That's what they want.
Yeah.
Same with flowers, right? We did a wedding in Pocatello where it's probably the most beautiful wedding with floral and everything. And they did such a great job. And that's what they wanted from their wedding.
Right.
But sometimes people, they look at Instagram or Pinterest and they base their budget on Pinterest as opposed to what they want for their own wedding. So,
yeah. Well, and I feel like, too, it is so important for you to stick with what is important for you. Fun fact, I don't know if I've mentioned this here before, but I have a twin sister. And
is she identical?
no, she's not identical. We don't look anything alike at all, but she is my twin. Shout out if she listens. But we got married, I think, 11 months apart. And so just about a year. And so we had 2 weddings, less than a year. And one common thing as a twin is you are always compared to. And so that was a really big fear of both of ours going into our weddings, especially less than a year apart, was like, well, how is this wedding going to compare to this one or whatever? We were really worried about that. I'm probably speaking for her, but I know I was really worried about that.
I'm sure she was.
I'm sure she was too. But like one thing that I had a hard time understanding was her and her husband, they are major foodies. And so for them, the number one most important thing was the food. That was not my most important thing. And I just didn't understand it. Because again, I was like, nobody's going to remember the food. Like, yeah, you want good food, but like, what does it really matter? You know? And so I feel like it's so important for your client to figure out what is most important for them and to stick with it. And you as the vendor help backing them up. You know, now I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, that was really fun. Like we had some really good brisket and barbecue and it was great, you know. But at that point in time, I was like, man, that just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm so proud that she was able to stick up for herself. And, you know, me as the wedding professional thinking I'm a know-it-all was like, why are you doing this? But I was so happy that she stuck her ground and kept it. And that's going to be exactly what she wants to remember from her wedding.
That's a good so.
I love it. That's great. One last question, Nicole.
Okay.
We got to do speed round.
Yeah, I gotta do speed round.
So one last question. What's your favorite moment on a wedding day?
Favorite moment
If you have one.
from previous ones? I want to be specific, but I also want to be kind to the person that was there. We've had several weddings in the past where one of the bride or the groom were handicapped.
Yeah.
And just feeling all the love and support and seeing someone dance with their wife, even though they're not able to stand, is so beautiful. And it's just so motivating and hopeful just to see that love conquers all.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I love it.
I love
It's gonna make me want to cry.
It's a great way to end.
It was so beautiful. We both cried.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We will now attack you with speed round questions.
Oh no, I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Easy. Okay. Let's start.
We'll start easy.
We'll start easy. Okay. Favorite, I already know some of these answers.
That's okay.
Favorite comedy TV show?
The Office.
Okay. Favorite drama TV show? She's thinking about all of her Asian Netflix movies.
No. I do like K-dramas, but I was recently watching Bly Manor. I like a lot of scary movies. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
pretty good.
I got you. If you could go anywhere right now, where would you go?
Europe.
Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
very
feel
good.
that.
Favorite artist?
Artist? Oh, I have so many. Probably, I don't know how to say their name. Anypen or Enhypen?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a Korean group.
Celebrity crush.
Bradley Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
I get
He's a
it.
hottie.
I get it. I mean,
He's
me
my
too, a
free
little
pass.
bit. Yeah, totally. I get it.
Go to treat.
Go to treat. Anything chocolate.
Anything chocolate?
Yeah.
Respect.
Good chocolate. Love it. Well, thank you again, Nicole, for being on our podcast.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's nice to have my wife on here. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Top Secret Wedding Podcast.
Subscribe, rate, and review us, and we'll see you next time.